Assalamu alaikum everyone, this is Ayman Nazir and welcome to Knowledge Realm. So students, in the previous lectures we studied the discovery and colonization of America by European imperial powers. We studied that first of all Spanish came to America, they discovered America, they colonized the Central and Southern America, then French came to America, then Dutch people came to America, and then in the last English colonizers came to America and then they colonized the eastern coastline of America. They settled 13 colonies there. But we did not study the factors behind this colonization. We did not study that why European imperial powers colonized America. When we were studying this whole colonization, this question came to our mind that why in the first place these European imperial powers colonized America. What were their aims and goals, and what were the factors that led them to colonize all this area of America. So today in this lecture we would discuss and we would try to find out the answer of this question, that why European imperial powers colonized America. So stay focused and let's get started. So the first reason behind the colonization of America by the European imperial powers was the race of imperialism in Europe. Students, at that time there was a race of imperialism between all these European powers. Now what is imperialism? Well, I'll give you a very simple concept of imperialism. Imperialism was actually a policy that European powers were using at the time, and it was a policy of extending the political influence of European powers beyond their borders. They were interested in extending their power beyond their borders, and they used to do this to gain the benefits, economic benefits and political benefits beyond their borders and the lands of other people. So they were in race of imperialism and they had a desire of power and influence over world affairs. Britain colonized different regions of Asia and Africa, then Spain colonized Central and Southern America, France colonized Canada, and they were in a race of imperialism. They did not want their rival to win in this race, so they were just busy in colonizing different parts of world. So when they saw that Spain has discovered this new continent of the world, they rushed towards this new continent of the world, and they got in a race of colonizing this new part of the world also. Now here I have attached a very good representation of this pictorial representation of this colonization. Here you can see there is Germany. Germany has its back, then Britain has its back, and I don't know what country this person is representing, and they were all just there to show their ownership on different parts of the world. They were there to colonize the different parts of the world, and they were in a race of imperialism, so this is why they were doing this. Then the second reason behind the colonization of America: source of raw materials. These European powers were actually wanted to become economically strengthened, and they were in an economic race also. So they colonized different parts of the world because they wanted raw materials to strengthen their economy. Colonization was actually a tool of extracting raw materials from lands of other people. European colonizers extracted raw materials such as tobacco and fur. We all know, we have studied this colonization in detail, and we all know that British, they settled in Virginia, and there they started trade of tobacco, and French, they used to trade fur with Algonquin tribe of America, and there was a greed and quest for raw materials, and they wanted raw materials. So this is the reason they colonized America, and they took control of the lands of America so that they could use and they could extract these raw materials for themselves and for their mother country. Here you can see this is a very interesting representation of this greed of the powers, the imperial powers of European. Here this is mother country, and these are the colonies settled by mother countries, and the colonies are giving raw materials, foodstuffs and gold and silver to the mother country. This was another reason behind the colonization of America, because these European imperial powers wanted raw materials from these colonies. Another factor behind this colonization of America, quest for new trade markets. Students, I've explained it in the previous slide that European imperial powers used to extract raw materials from these colonies. Then they used to manufacture goods from that raw material and sell those goods in their colonies. They used to manufacture goods, and now they needed markets because they wanted to sell those goods to earn profit. They wanted economic strength of their country, the mother country. So they needed new trade markets. So this is a very clever tool of European imperial powers. They used to extract raw materials from their colonies, manufacture goods from that raw material in industries in their own countries, and then they used to sell those goods in their colonies. They used the colonies as a trade market also. Europe needed new trade markets to make money and become economically strengthened. So this was another reason behind the colonization of America. Then another reason, quest for treasures. Well, we have discussed this several times that Europeans were inspired by Marco Polo's travelogue, and Marco Polo wrote in his travelogue that the India and China, he actually wrote about Asia. He wrote that these lands, India and China, are filled with jewels and golds and all the natural resources. So this quest for treasures actually took European imperial powers to America, and they colonized America because they wanted this treasure. They were in a quest for treasuries and they wanted gold and jewels from the New World. And we have studied that what kind of cruel atrocities Christopher Columbus inflicted on the people of America, on the native people of America, because he wanted gold and jewels at all cost. So quest for treasures was actually another factor behind the colonization of America by the European imperial powers. Then another very important factor, rift in religious beliefs. We have studied this several times that there were religious wars in Europe, and on one side there were Protestant and there were Catholics, and they were fighting, they were persecuting each other. So to flee this persecution, Europeans migrated to America, and there they settled their colonies. Another reason behind the colonization of America by European imperial powers, population burst in Europe. Most scholars agree that the European region saw its population almost double between 1500 and 1750. So when the population bursted in Europe, the land of Europe became scarce, and now these people actually needed vast land to get settled. So when America was discovered in 1494, the people of Europe, they took a sigh of relief, and they swarmed the land of America and they moved there, they started living there, and they got settled there because they needed land. Another factor behind the colonization of America, rise of joint stock companies. We have studied this, that in Europe people started making these joint stock companies. For example, Dutch West Indies Company, London Company, Massachusetts Bay Company, and these companies wanted to expand themselves in the world, and these companies started opening their branches, and these companies started their operation in the colonies of America. They needed land, so they started colonization of America. Now, two very important factors behind the colonization of America. First, missionaries' desires. Students, we have studied this when we were studying the colonization of America, that Spanish, French, and British, these people were interested in spreading their religion in the New World. Spanish gave an excuse of doing a religious job in America by bringing heathens to Christianity. They used to say that we are doing nothing but we are just spreading the Christianity, and we are bringing these heathens, the Native Americans. They used to call Native Americans the heathens, and they used this excuse and they said that we are bringing heathens to Christianity, and this is our responsibility and this is our job and this is a burden on us, that we are doing this for the God, and we are doing a good job, and we are responsible for this. This is our responsibility. So we are compelled to colonize this land because we want to bring heathens to Christianity. Then King James I, he was actually Protestant. He also sent Protestants to America in order to curtail the expansion of Spanish Christians in America. King James I was from British Empire, and he sent the English people to America in 1603. And he wanted to, as I've explained, that he wanted to curtail the expansion of Christians in America. So these were the desires of missionaries that led to the colonization of America. Then another factor behind this colonization, mercantilism. Now, what is mercantilism? Mercantilism is actually a nationalistic economic policy. What countries do in this policy, countries actually tend to decrease their imports and increase their exports to accumulate wealth inside the country. Why countries do this? To strengthen the economy of the country and to increase the power of the country. This was the main goal of the countries. I mean, not in that time, but even in today also. Today, what countries do? Countries actually try to increase their exports and decrease their imports so they could earn wealth and they could be economically as well as politically strengthened. So this was mercantilism, and this was another reason behind the colonization of America. European powers extracted raw materials from their colonies and made them obliged to buy the finished product of Europe. It led to more exports of Europe. Europe started exporting more and more in the newfound world, and it decreased its imports. Now, this was the last factor behind the colonization of America by the European imperial powers. So today, students, we have studied the factors behind the colonization of America, and I believe that this is enough for today, and I think that I've explained everything very well. So thank you and Allah Hafiz. Don't forget to like, comment, share this video, and don't forget to subscribe the channel Knowledge Realm.